Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC, presents Comedy Appetizers, a podcast where you will find short comedy sets, stories, and funny bits from the famous and not so famous. Here is your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Hey, welcome to this week's special bonus podcast. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We're in for a real treat. We got some great comedy from a very good friend all the way from Florida. Let's hear from my buddy, Bruce Smirnoff. Bruce, welcome to the studio. It's great to have you. I told the folks we have some great funny bits for him. Let's share something. What have you been working on?
What we should share is our friendship, which spans, I met you in 1980. Oh my God. And all the places that I lived in 80, when I met you, I was living in Hollywood, California, which we know now is going through a lot of problems. But where I was living, I was always living on the fringe. I lived on Hollywood Boulevard.
Wow.
And I lived on Hollywood Boulevard because that was the one section of it was very artsy fartsy. And I always considered myself to be like a very artsy fartsy kind of a person. So I moved there, and after 1 year, I realized it wasn't artsy fartsy. It was guns and nerdsy. You could get killed. The only thing I enjoyed, and you living in Sacramento, I think you have El Pollo Loco, right?
Yes.
My favorite. I still miss it. I'm 64 years old, living in Delray Beach, Florida, but I miss El Pollo Loco, and I really miss that one location on my block, and it was like Santa Monica and La Brea. It was the greatest location. You eat your chicken. They arrest people out in front. Dinner and a show. You can't even get that on Broadway now. Broadway's closed. You just go to El Pollo Loco, Hollywood Boulevard. You'll sit there 9 hours. You'll be 400 pounds from the chicken, and you'll see 22 arrests, macing, hopefully some good beatings. And yeah, it's great. It's a great thing.
Dinner and a show. That's perfect.
Dinner and a show. Better than Broadway. But then you would think that I would have learned my lessons from, but no. I moved to New York, and I'm a tightwad. I don't want to live in Manhattan because it's so pricey. Like, it would be, if I told people New York prices, it's just inconceivable. But you get like a studio, you get like 300 square feet for like $2,000. I couldn't do it. So I went to Brooklyn. And Brooklyn at the time, we're talking 2001, pre 9/11. It was like there were all these areas that were sprouting up again with the artsy fartsy and the thing. So I went into this artsy fartsy. Well, no one knows listening. Well, I'm just going to give you an example of where I was living. I was one block from Martin Luther King Boulevard, Jackie Robinson Parkway, and Malcolm X Avenue. And I'll be honest with you, if I didn't move that 1 year that I stayed there, they were going to rename my street Bruce Smirnoff Memorial Drive.
So you went from one bad neighborhood to another.
One bad neighborhood to another. Now, I've learned my lesson, but I'm an old man now. Let's get a little late. I'm in Delray Beach, Florida. I live in a 55 and over community. People listening to this go, well, that's 55. You shouldn't even have to know. This is like a retirement place. And I'm here only because I've learned my lesson. I want quiet. I used to want busy, hustle, girls,
artsy fartsy.
Now I want quiet. And I have finally, thank God, I moved to this place is so, once in a while, you hear a thud. You dial 911, they take the body away. But other than that, it's quiet. It's so quiet. Let me tell you something. Normal people have no emergency vehicles circle my complex like an ice cream truck at a playground. That's how quick it is. They have to do like mid-air refueling. They can't even go back.
Oh, it's so funny. It's like the vultures.
Yeah. It's just like vultures circling. And there are so many advantages. Obviously, you have to be 55 to take advantage of this. But I'll give you an example. You don't like your neighbor where I live, right? You give it a week. They're gone. You get a new neighbor. Maybe you like this one. You know, that's how it works.
It rotates pretty fast, huh?
Oh, it's in and out. Yes, correct.
Well, that sounds like an exciting life there in Florida.
No, Delray Beach, 38 miles from Miami. Miami, I lived in Miami. I lived in Miami Beach, and I did all that.
You used to have a couple great jokes. You got any jokes?
No, they're all jokes for for Jewish people that I tell. I will tell you this: I miss when I think of you. You know, I used to do Laughlin for Bob Kephart. So I would go do your gig in Sacramento, then I'd drive up 80 and I'd go to Reno. Who had Reno? It wasn't Bob Kephart. Yeah, he had Laughlin.
There was an improv up there.
Laughlin was Bob. I used to do it's like a biker community, wherever it was, Laughlin.
Yeah.
And it was like a biker bar that they did comedy. The guy was really cool. He was like a cool guy. Like he wanted different kinds of comedians. So I was working a biker bar in Laughlin. I'd never experienced anything like your audience. You probably know biker bars, but to me, it was like this was like a 2 tattoo minimum just to walk in. The ladies' room had urinals in it. Just a rough joint.
That's a rough room.
And then like a bouncer. Like you never had a bouncer at your comedy clubs. This place had a bouncer, biggest guy I ever saw, largest human, big guy. I mean, he had to be like 6 foot, and I had a whole pack of cigarettes rolled up his sleeve. They were still in the vending machine. That's a big guy. Okay,
that's a big guy.
Big guy. Yeah. So the interesting thing about this gig was that these are rough and tumble guys, but the guy who owned the club was articulate. He wanted all different types of comedians. He wanted all different ethnics, everything. The rule was like an unwritten rule: nobody gets drunk until after the show. You can have your beer, but no heckling, no anything. So you had a good show. I mean, and here I am, and I did great. And then afterwards, the guy comes up and goes, he wants to have a drink with me. I'm like, maybe one beer I can do. So I'm having the beer with him, and this guy's like 2-3 shots into it. He goes, I'm only asking you a question. And I go, okay, what do you want to know? Because they've never met ethnic people like me before. They go, how come you Jews? I like it when they started out, you Jews. I'm looking around, maybe a bus showed up, right? Where's Uncle Harry? Did I get a toy? This companies. And I go, what is it, sir? He goes, I want to know, how come you always lawyers and doctors and show business? Are you different than us? And I go, this is a nice-hearted guy. I said, no, just read your encyclopedia, go on Wikipedia, read your history, just like all the great ethnic groups that integrated into the United States. We came, we integrated, we were regular human beings, and that's the story. Maybe one teeny tiny difference. We don't seek dangerous jobs like everybody else. Because let's face it, when they find a telephone worker slumped over an electrical pole with 10,000 volts shooting through his body, do you think that's Murray Scheckelstein?
Not likely.
I don't think so, babe. No, it's always a brave Gentile like you. When Scott Edwards gets out on the Route 80 to change his tire, he's sucked into a paint mixer he's never heard of again. Jews sit in the car, we wait for AAA. We're not going anywhere.
Well, that's great, Bruce. Thanks so much for sharing that old bit. I love that. My wife Jill and I were just traveling through Utah, and we were actually doing that bit because we love you, Bruce. You're a funny guy, and it was a big bit. Hey, thanks so much for doing this special bonus podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, our regular show will be here on Sunday. But Bruce Smirnoff out of Florida, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome, Scott.
Hey, everybody, enjoy your day.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Comedy Appetizers. Be sure to share with family and friends, and we will see you this Sunday for our regular podcast, your host and MC, and again next Friday for another episode of Comedy Appetizers. Bye!